All right, let me check and see if it's popping. Yep, it's ready. All right, let's give it one more second to see if anybody pops up for me, and then I'll do the intro and stuff.
It's on.
Yeah, you can see it.
Hmm.
Okay. Oh, hi. Hey, Lucian. Okay, I'm gonna have to stay out the chat because I can't do both. All right, so we are going to get started. This is the third. No, this is the fourth episode. Oh, it's four! Yay!
Ooh, 4.
We made it to 4 months. So this is the fourth episode of A Walk with My Angel. This is a podcast where we are discussing stillbirth and miscarriage. We're discussing our rainbow babies. We discuss how stillbirth and miscarriage affect every part of our lives. And before we get started, I want to give a trigger warning, and that is just to let you know that we are discussing some traumatic events today. We will be discussing stillbirth and miscarriage, and we'll be discussing it from our point of view, myself and LaTisha. And this may be triggering for some of you, as always. If you find yourself in a place that you are unable to communicate with your family, your friends, if you find yourself in a dark place where you are seeking to harm yourself, we always ask you to reach out to a professional. There are suicide hotlines that you can call, and we'll post that up later throughout the show. And always, there are places like Talkspace and BetterHelp that you can sign up to get help from a licensed professional counselor, if you feel like you are in a place that you need that. On our Facebook page, we often post group grief symposiums. There's one that is coming up. I believe it happens every month, the first Monday of every month. So there's one coming up this coming up Monday on April 4th, 5th,
5th.
5th, April 5th. It's called The Empty Chair. And I'll make sure I repost that on our Facebook and Instagram pages once we're done here as well. But again, please make sure that you are practicing self care, that you're caring for yourself, that you are putting yourself in the best possible place to thrive, not just survive. So now that we've done that, I want to introduce myself and my co-host. My name is Carissa Hoggabook, and I am an angel mommy. And essentially, what an angel mommy is a woman who has given birth to a stillborn baby. A stillbirth happens after 24 weeks of gestation, and the baby has passed away in the womb and has to be delivered. My angel baby was born July 7th of 2011. I'm sorry, July 6th of 2007. 11, and his name was Josiah, and he is very much part of our everyday lives. We think about him every single day. We incorporate in his memory in what we do every single day. We do not leave that part of ourselves behind. Miss LaTisha, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm LaTisha Banks. I'm angel mom to Lakara Banks, who was born July, not July, January the 19th, 2011.
So today, what we're doing is a little bit different than what we've done before in our past episodes. Instead of talking about just one topic, today we are going to be answering some questions. We're going to be answering some questions that some of our family have asked us. We're going to be answering some questions that even we had of each other, about what has happened with our stillbirth and miscarriages. Um, Also, I want to also reiterate that this is a monthly live stream. We stream the last Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And again, please remember, I'm going to say this throughout the broadcast. Please remember that if you feel like you need some help, you want to talk to someone, and you don't have family or friends around you that you feel that you can be vulnerable with, that's completely okay. There are places that you can pick up the phone, go online, and you can get the professional help that you need. Meeting with a counselor, that is not a bad thing. Meeting with a counselor, it doesn't mean that you've given up. It doesn't mean that it's too much for you. It just means you need someone to walk with you. And that's why it's called A Walk with My Angel. We want to walk with you through this journey because you're not alone and your baby was important. So, first, we have our check in. So, LaTisha, it's been a month. February was very interesting in Texas. So,
Right.
what has been happening in the month of March for you?
It's I think the month of March has been pretty good. Spring break, the warmer temperatures, the kids are starting to go outside more, so I'm enjoying this.
Go outside. So for me, March has been a little bit of a blur. It just kind of took off. My birthday
Mhm.
is in the month of March, and people that know me know that I do a lot of stuff for my birthday. Like I celebrate my birthday all month long, but this month, my birthday, it snuck up on me. The month was moving that fast, and
Your birthday is when?
March 24th, it snuck up.
Oh, your birthday already passed.
Yes, it snuck up on
Well,
me.
happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I didn't have anything planned like I normally do. I was like, okay, well, I guess we just gonna So I ate ice cream for dinner, and I went to bed early for my birthday. And my sister took me out for lunch, and boom, that's my birthday. But let's go ahead and get into our topic. So first, we are going to be discussing miscarriage. So I just want to ask you at the outset before we switch to the actual questions. LaTisha, have you ever gone through a miscarriage?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I have, um, and I've had multiple, which unfortunately is not uncommon for African American women in America. That's unfortunately the country that we live in. So let's start here.
So one of the questions that I did have was, what is the difference between a miscarriage and a stillbirth?
So essentially, the difference is, and again, neither one of us are medical professionals. We are just speaking from our own experience. And in my case, because I did have multiple miscarriages and I did, ask my doctors, what a miscarriage is, it is the loss of a pregnancy before 24 weeks of pregnancy. So it happens, of course, um, you do hear if you make it that far, you do get to hear the heartbeat. Um, you do start to experience things in the pregnancy as if you're going to have a live baby, but because but the difference is the essential difference is that how and when the pregnancy is lost is really what the difference is.
Does your body still act as if it's still pregnant after the miscarriage, and for how long?
For me, um, each one of each one of my miscarriages was different. So for me, I had five miscarriages. I had one before Josiah, and then the other four were after my rainbow baby Isaiah, and he is 7 now. So I had four after him, and they were one of them. I had to get a DNC, so my body reacted a little bit different. But um, for me, my body didn't. act as if I was still pregnant. It acted as if I was having a heavy period, if that makes sense. Like it was acting as if like my I was a little bloated. My breasts were tender, and I continued even after the miscarriage. I continued to cramp as if it was a really really bad period. So it wasn't like so it wasn't. I remember the different. I remember noticing the differences um, between when I had Josiah and when I had my miscarriage. With Josiah, with my stillbirth, my body reacted as if there was a live baby there. So um, it took a long time. They had to wrap me with cabbage leaves and ace bandages to stop my milk from coming in. But in my body, my cervix was, contracting, of course. But my body still reacted as if there was a baby there. But with my miscarriages, it was as if I was still, it was as if it was a very, very heavy period, which for me, my periods didn't really get that bad until after I had my son and I started having those miscarriages. That's when my periods got just completely atrocious.
Can you explain what the DNC is? What for people who don't know?
Um, the DNC, this is gonna get a little graphic, so preface with that. So a DNC is when the baby um has a miscarriage has occurred, but the baby has not passed through your body. So with like I remember my first miscarriage after having my son, after having Isaiah. Um I don't think they'll do it anymore because of COVID, but they used to have an event in downtown Sundance Square called the Happiness Sprinkling Event. And it's like where you go out there, you have signs, and all of the signs are encouraging messages. And you like, and some of them say, you're good, you're gonna make it. Other of them say you're a good parent. Other of the signs will say just different encouraging messages. So the first one I had after my son passed was that day, and I was on my way out the door to go stand on this corner with these signs. So I remember I was walking down the street pushing my daughter in the stroller, and it was just so much pain hit me all at once. And it was pain like it didn't feel like childbirth, but I can't really explain what it felt like, but it was terrible, terrible pain. And for that one, the baby passed on its own. But what a DNC is the baby isn't passing. So with my DNC, I got scheduled for one because I'd gone in, found out I was pregnant, gone into the doctor. She checked me, everything was fine, and then um, she wanted to see me in 2 weeks because of my previous stillbirth. They wanted to make sure I met up with a high risk doctor. So they wanted me to come back in 2 weeks for my meeting with my high risk doctor. So when I came back for the meeting with the high risk doctor, she told me that the baby had passed and that they needed, because the baby didn't pass naturally out of my body, that they had to schedule what's called a DNC. And what a DNC is essentially they're going in to get the baby, and they're using something to kind of scrape the baby out and pull the baby out with like a hook. So they will sometimes they'll put you under, but normally they'll just give you like a local anesthetic. They put me completely out because I was just not in a state to be awake. So they put me completely out, and they it's like a little it's a long it's a long it's a long like wand thing with a hook on the end, and essentially it's kind of like I'm trying to think of something I can't right now. I can't think of anything to compare it to, but it's essentially like they're taking that hook, they're going in and they're hooking the baby and they're pulling the baby out like that, and they're scraping the sides to make sure all of the parts of the baby come out. That's what a DNC is.
What do you like? What do you say to someone who's had a miscarriage? Like, I mean,
Um,
like, you know how someone would be like, yeah, I had a miscarriage, or like in your case, I've had multiple miscarriages. Like,
I would ask them first if they need anything. That's kind of like, because every woman is different, every pregnancy is different. Because of those things, every miscarriage is different. So with some women, their body may react in a way that they need help with daily things, and that's one thing um, that it's important to note about a miscarriage or a stillbirth. That is a traumatic event. That is not something to be taken lightly. And it's important that they have people around them that can help them. Like, for example, help them with, like, do they need any help with the basic things? So do they have a post office box you can go get their mail? Do they need dinner? They may not eat it, but do they need dinner? If they have other kids, do you want to take the kids for a few hours or overnight? Um, do I need to go? Do you want me to go to the store and get you extra pads and extra feminine wipes? Um, do you need water? Like basic things, because when you've gone through a traumatic event like that, the basic necessities, they kind of, it's just kind of like out of sight, out of mind, and you don't really take very good care of yourself during those times. So ask them if they need anything basic, like, hey, today is Saturday. The kids normally have such and such practice. Do you want me to take the kids to practice? Um, just help with the basic things is something to say. And then ask them if they want to do something in memory of the baby. Um, a lot of times people skip that step because some, like in my case, because I dealt with infertility, it struggled. I struggled with, can I have another baby after this, or do I even want to have another baby after this? Do I want to stop? Do I want to and asking the question of, is there something you want to do in that baby's memory? It gives some hope to the parent, and it gives them an outlet somewhere to put a little piece of that grief. Um, I think another question, I think another question that some people um, ask is, what happens to the baby after a miscarriage? And it's different for different people. I have um, some women will, if they, depending on how the baby passes and they, depending on how the baby is born, some will wrap the baby up and bury the baby, which is perfectly okay to do. Um, I remember a story when I was really, really young. I think I was like 10 or 11. And, you're hustling as a child. And one of my mom's friends was talking about having a miscarriage, and she heard something fall into the toilet and essentially flush the baby down the toilet. I know that sounds very, if that sounds very grim, but um, that does happen. In the case of a DNC, the hospital takes care of the remains. It's different on different cases. Some people do have a ceremony, or they have a memorial or a moment to remember that baby, because that's still a human being. It was a miscarriage, yes, but it's still a human being. I can't stress that part enough. That was still a human being. So the remains after a miscarriage, unless you have a doctor that um, you can call and say, hey, I had a miscarriage, but I want something tested to see if there was a defect or to see if this can be prevented. Sometimes they'll tell you you can bring the remains in on ice and they can do some testing there. But that is very, I personally didn't do it and I didn't have the option to do it, but I know some of our other counterparts have had that option.
Hmm.
If that makes sense. Um, but yeah, it's really up to the parents and what they want to do. Um, what's another question? I think that was it. Did you have any other questions?
No, those were the main questions that I had.
Those are the main ones. Um,
Hmm.
like for me, most of my miscarriages, with the exception of my DNC, most of my miscarriages were a surprise, meaning I didn't know I was pregnant. And by the time I started to miscarry, a miscarriage can take days. It's not like a twinge and it's over. A miscarriage can take days. And because of that, by the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. It was too late to do anything to save the baby, unfortunately. Um, and I really do, unfortunately, in the black and brown community, miscarriages happen a lot more than they do in our white counterparts. A lot more. And a lot of it has to do with food deserts. It has to do with how we take care of ourselves. It has to do with the medical attention that we do and don't get. Um, it has a lot. It has a lot to do with those things, but it's still the loss of a life. I have to say that again. It's still the loss of a life, and it's still important to address it. To have a miscarriage and walk away like nothing happened, it will. It does not go away, and it does not go silently into the night. It doesn't do that because your body went through a traumatic experience, and it's important that you address it. If you don't address it with your family, if you don't address it with your friends, that's perfectly okay. There are a lot of social media groups like A Walk with My Angel, First Candle. There are a lot of different other organizations online that you can go and say, hey, I'm having a really bad day today. I had a miscarriage and now I don't know what to do. Or um, I had a miscarriage and now I'm afraid to get pregnant again, because those are honest things that happen. You have a miscarriage and you want to have children again, but at the same time you're concerned about your health. Like, am I going to miscarry again? Is it going to be worse next time? Do I want to put myself through that? These are questions that are asked, that we ask ourselves, and we might not ever say it out loud. But I want to reiterate that there are places that you can go and talk to someone who's been there, that someone who's been there, and someone that will show you some compassion and some empathy, because we absolutely need that. This was not a random event. So, a question for you about stillbirth. Do you think parents should have a funeral for their stillborn baby?
Yes, I do. I think that's the way to. It's just to make it to where something you can remember them
Yeah.
by. Um, I did. I actually had a memorial service. With it being winter, we had it at church, and then we went to the graveyard. Most stillbirths are done graveside, but at the time that she was born, we ended up having it indoors because of the temperatures. So I do think that having this, when you have a stillbirth, that you should have a memorial service. And that's just my opinion. I think it's to each his own.
Yeah, you're right. I think we had a memorial for Josiah as well. We live in Texas, and we went to Prayer Mountain in Dallas, and we had a memorial overlooking on the side of the mountain. We had a memorial there, and we released balloons, and someone said a prayer, and we had like a small service there. Um, for me, I was very particular about who came to the memorial service. That was just something that was very personal, but I do know that when you do have a memorial or a funeral for a stillborn baby, it does allow other people to feel more connected with that life. Like it allows other people to walk with you through that part of the journey, and it for some reason it makes it more real to the other people that maybe they maybe didn't get to hear the heartbeat or they didn't get to feel the baby kick in those senses, but having that memorial, you get more family and community support in that way. um so after backing up a little bit, after after a baby has passed away, um how is the baby delivered?
For me, my baby was delivered. I had a C-section. Um, I was scheduled for a C-section because I couldn't have her naturally anyway, because I had already had a previous C-section. So um, she was delivered C-section. I've heard stories that that you have some people have to wait and then they schedule, but because for me, I went straight from the doctor's office to the hospital.
I did too. My doctor's office was across the street from the hospital, and they sent me directly across the street, and they called ahead.
Mhm.
I delivered my son. I delivered Josiah vaginally. That was the only delivery that I did without drugs. Like I didn't have an epidural or anything like that with him, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm still so connected to him, because
Mhm.
I remember the pain of the labor, because they gave me I forgot the name of the drug that they gave me, that they put on my cervix to jumpstart my labor. And um, it didn't take very long, but once those contractions started, yeah, I felt all of them jokers. Um, did you do an autopsy for her?
No, I didn't do an autopsy, but the doctor did come in and explain what happened.
Can you tell us what happened?
The umbilical cord was implanted wrong on the placenta, so it was where when she, was turning she didn't get oxygen through the umbilical cord because of the way that it was implanted on the placenta.
Mm, okay. We did. I did request from my doctor to do an autopsy, and they did do an autopsy, and everything came back inconclusive. Like nothing. There was no answers to why he passed away. Um, so there are a lot of people that are like me who did go through a stillbirth and they didn't get answers as to why it happened. But during the process of delivering the baby, after you delivered the baby, um, I can't really explain this for everyone, but did you get extra time with the baby after you delivered?
Yes. She was actually brought into the room after she was delivered, and we were able to take pictures and stuff of her, and so we was able to have some time. And then once the funeral home came to pick her up, we was able to spend more time. So I was able to hold her again before. they took her.
So they this is just from my I just want to know. Um so did they let her stay in the room with you until the funeral home came and got her?
No, they let her stay in the room with us, um, like during the time we was taking the pictures. I can't remember if they just came back to get her and then brought her back. It's all a fog. I don't remember what happened in between, but I know that what I ended up being on the labor and delivery side when they brought her in for me and my family to see her, and for my family and stuff to see her for the first time. And then they switched, they moved my room to on the other side so that I wouldn't hear like the babies crying or anything like that. So they moved my room, and then whenever the funeral home came, then they brought her back in.
Yeah, that I wish I would have known about photographers that could come in and take pictures with you and the family. Um just a side note that now I don't it probably was in 2011. I just didn't know about it. But now they do have services that can come and take pictures of the baby after the baby is passed. You can dress the baby up in whatever um, their take home outfit is, or in my case, they have the hospital I gave birth in, they had something called Threads of Love, where some of nurses they needed like hats and boots and like a little warm shirt, and they brought that in, and you can dress the baby in that, or you can dress the baby in something. And then there are places called Stillbirth Alliance and Healing from the Start, and um, I think the other one is called When Hello Means Goodbye. They are services that you can call, and they'll come and take pictures of the baby. They'll come and take family pictures. I wish I would have known or even thought to do something like that, because I only have the one picture of Josiah, and I just copy it and put it wherever. I put it in his memory box that I have with his hat and his booties. But at the time, I was in such a fog. Other than taking the one picture that I took, it did not cross my mind to take pictures, and that's one thing I really wish I would have did. It really.
The At the hospital that I was at, they had a photographer that came in and took pictures, so I ended up getting several pictures.
Yeah,
Now
that.
I do wish that I would have got a picture with her and Kaya, but because Kaya was there, but we she I don't have a picture with her and Kaya.
Yeah, that's kind of one of some of the things that I think about now. It is like I wanted, at least one family picture of us all together, and I just didn't. It didn't. Everybody was in such a fog because it happened so fast that nobody thought of like, wait a minute, let's take a picture with everyone together, and it just didn't. It just didn't cross our minds. But I want to reiterate again that if you have gone through a miscarriage or you've gone through a stillbirth, even if you don't think you need help, reach out to someone. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to say, I need help today, or I'm having a rough day. These are not, you're not less of a woman. You're not less of a dad. You're not less of a grandma or a grandpa or an auntie or an uncle. You're not less of a person because you need help with the loss of a human being. You're not less of a person because of that. So I just want to keep pushing that, because oftentimes, especially us, we will walk around hurting and bleeding emotionally and never seek help and never talk about it, because we think we have to be this strong and shero and I can do it all type of people, when God built us to be communal. God built us to be in community with other people. And when we lock ourselves away, we are blocking out the love of God that we need. I just want to put that out there. Did you have any other questions that you can think of?
I think we pretty much covered all the questions that I could think of. Or did you have anything else?
Um, so for our next month, I was thinking that we could do a little something a little bit different. We're gonna reach past the emotional part. We're gonna reach past the trauma part and do a little bit of a practical discussion of what it's like after stillbirth. So we're gonna talk about how stillbirth affected our money because having a funeral service come to get your baby from the hospital, that's not free. Having to memorialize your baby, that's not free. Um, Having to miss days of work, and because you had a stillborn and not a live child, many of us don't get paid many of us don't get paid for that. Those things aren't free. So next month we're gonna discuss stillbirth and money. That's gonna be interesting. Um, So once again, I want to tell you guys that this is a walk with my angel. My name is Carissa, and my co-host there is Miss LaTisha, and we're really here to walk with you during this journey. We're here to walk with mothers and fathers and grandparents and aunts and uncles through the journey of losing a child through stillbirth and miscarriage. This unfortunately happens a lot in our black and brown communities, and we have to support each other. We can't give each other these colloquialisms like God knows what he's doing and God doesn't make mistakes, because that does not help. It's true. Those things are true. But those things don't help when you're walking through a trauma like that. They actually hurt. So what we want to do is we want to walk with you through this journey. We want to let you know that you are not by yourself. We want to let you know that your baby was and still is important. And we want to let you know that there are sources and there are people who have been where you've been. We've sat where you sat. We've cried where you've cried. And we want to let you know that you can. So we want to let you know that you can do more than what you see in front of you, that it will get better. Your heart will get bigger and you'll learn to thrive, not just survive through this. So again, this is the Walk with My Angel. We do this live podcast the last Wednesday of every single month. And this month we are actually streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So we are slowly getting our YouTube page together and we'll be posting more things throughout the week. If you have any questions for us, if you want us to do what we did today and answer a question that you've had, um, and it doesn't really matter how big or how small the question is. It doesn't have to be a question about your personal experience. It can be a question like, should I ask my niece that had a miscarriage, should I ask her this question? Ask us, and we'll let you know from our opinion. We are discussing these things from our point of view. We are not doctors. We are not professionals in that manner, but we are two women that have experienced the trauma of a stillbirth and a miscarriage, and we are seeking to thrive and not survive, and we want to make sure that you can do the same. You can DM us your questions at Walk with My Angel on Facebook, or you can DM us your questions at A Walk with My Angel on Instagram or YouTube. And you can email us at a walk with my angel at gmail.com. We are here to answer your questions. No question is too insignificant or too big for us. If we don't know the answer, unfortunately, we both know several other women who have gone through stillbirth and miscarriage. So if we don't know the answer, we can go and ask some of the people of their experiences. In the coming months, we will have some special guests coming up to share their story and to share their perspectives. But in the meantime, we really, really thank you for joining us. Share this video with people you think need it, or you think have a question that you don't want to ask them if they have a question, but you know they have a question. Share this video with them as well. And we will see you next month. Y'all have a good night.
Have a good night.